Too clever,
but
but
too lazy. So, welcome, guys. Episode 6. Nice to have you back.
Episode 6 finally got there all this time. It's been like 12 weeks. Think about it, 13. Lucky
I know, but we got to
13.
go to a weekly format so that we could be like, because
I know, but right now, episode 6.
No, wait, right now.
Yeah. All right. So, you said you're eating yogurt, 13 grams, 134 grams of protein a day is your goal.
No, it's over 145.
Oh, 145. Okay.
Yeah. Because
So
I even read somewhere that they're like saying like a gram per pound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, that's a lot more than.
I'm gonna need a couple more yogurts. All right, but yeah. So my new favorite snack is you want to guess? Want to take a wild guess?
Let me guess. Feisty taco chips.
It's not bad. No, cucumbers sliced, not just full cucumbers, right? You were
I was about to make a joke.
and then and hummus. It's pretty good.
Oh,
That's pretty good. You don't like hummus? That's hey, if you don't like hummus, I mean I get it.
oh my God. Since you said that, it's pretty good. Sorry, like we haven't said it once, so I'm glad that you fucking brought that out.
I know. I've been trying not to use it just because I said we were going to use it so much that like it was a reverse effect. It backfired almost.
You like reverse psychology to yourself or some shit?
I knew I was going to use it so much that I was like, don't use it. Just use it sparingly, man. Keep it in your back pocket. You know, hide it.
What the fuck? That makes no sense because you're literally like, yo, I'm going to say this right now because I feel like it's going to come up a lot. And you're like, no, I can't. Sparingly. You got to be frugal about this shit.
Yeah, I know.
Only on special
Gemini,
occasions.
bitch. You just got Gemini. Right.
I know, right? You just got Gemini.
Makes no sense. All right, so actually, I'm right after as soon as this episode's over, I'm making the soundbite for scams. I already have it in my head. It's gonna be glorious.
What is it?
But no, we have a ton of scams. Okay, so first of all, this one.
No, I meant your soundbite. What's your soundbite?
I'm gonna have to send it to you so you can hear it. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. It's gonna be a surprise.
Okay, well, just don't tell me when I'm really high and you're on pre-workout.
Exactly. And then we'll just fucking snap.
It's like fucking a crackhead and a retard.
Yeah. Ooh. All right. So this actually since we went there with it.
Well, you know, we missed an opportunity to title our podcast that.
No. So okay. So I actually sent. Hopefully you can hear this voice meme. I sent this to myself.
Unoffensive retarded.
Oh.
All right. So basically what it is, you know, the N word, the F word, nigger, faggot. Those are words that are like, you know, we're not really allowed to say anymore. And I get it. I understand why, because there's, you know, I get why those words would be like, you know, shunned. Right. But we're both in the military. We fought for our First Amendment. Right. Mm-hmm. And retard is one word I don't agree with because there are multiple reasons for the word retard. So I propose a new category, unoffensive retarded. Here, I'll go first. The song started at a blistering 280 beats per minute, but following the fourth stanza, it was retarded to a mere 120. Boom, unoffensive retarded. I think we're gonna get some sponsors, but that is how, because retarded is not it has several meanings, so you can't take that away from us. So now we have to make it a point to use the word retarded as unoffensively as possible whenever we can.
It sounds like your brain is retarded.
Offensive retarded.
Well, did you see that? Oh, wait, but first I got that N-word, and you said the N-word. I think I sent this to you, this reel to you, but this comedian, he was like, this white guy, and he was like, yeah, you know, we're not supposed to say the N-word. We don't want anybody to say the N-word. So I'm going to put a sign in front of my house that says, no N-word is welcome here.
No, I don't think I saw that one yet, but that's good.
And then my favorite is Pete Holmes when his buddies, he's like, my black friend said the N-word. And he was like, it wasn't the N-word. He said the N-word. And I said, hey, that's our phrase.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh, man, that show was funny.
But all right, so yeah, so
oh, wait. And now I have another one.
Retarded, unoffensive retarded. Go ahead.
Did you see that meme that I posted today? It was like about
today? No, I didn't see it today. It was on your.
Well, it says, just remember, when God calls you to do something, he's already taken into consideration you're retarded. You're already
Oh, no, yeah, I did see that.
Developmental disability. My favorite, though, is like, so do your best. You have a job to do. Your disability has already been factored in.
I actually did see that after giving you all that shit. Where were we? Oh, yeah. So scams. I'm going to send you the scams. But okay, so there's a ton of scams.
We got ourselves a scam.
There's this one. This one's kind of like breaking news almost. It's this scam that was going across all these big podcasters. This company called Cast Media, and more specifically, their CEO, Colin. His name is Colin Thompson. More specifically, their CEO.
Dude, when you texted me that last night, I read that. I'm like,
perfect.
And
but
you're
anyway,
like, did you get it? Did you get it?
Yeah, I wasn't sure because I didn't want you to. I was like, knowing you're probably going to be like, yeah, I knew it. I knew he was stupid.
I knew he was retarded.
He likes to slow down his songs. Anyway, so so this guy, it was actually Theo Von who actually kind of like broke this story, and I looked into it more. I saw some videos, but anyway, so it was this company called Cast Media, who was basically the middleman between podcasters and sponsorships, right? Like, do you know how to go get a sponsor for us? Would you know who to call?
No,
I wouldn't. So anyway, so basically what they do is you sign up with this company. They go out, they find you sponsors. They set up the deals. They get you the copy. You read the copy. You put the ad on your show. Then Cast Media would get paid. They take their percentage and they pay the podcasters, right? Mm-hmm. And from the get go, everyone was saying like, yeah, these payments always came a little bit late, but there were good deals. But here's the thing: they start off a month late, then 3 months late, then 8 months late, to the point where finally this company went bankrupt. And they said, what we're going to do to solve this is we're going to sell you to another company called Podcast One, and you got to sign this new deal. And basically, what we're going to do is the new deal is we're going to take a third of your money that we owe you. So say we owe you $300,000, we're going to give you $100,000 right now. The other third we're going to give you over the next 2 years. And the final third we're going to give you in our company stock, which was a company that wasn't even public yet. And then the company just went public. The stock has dropped 50%. So imagine this is like, I'm just saying $300. Some people they owed millions to. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to give you a third of it now, a third over the next 24 months. And then the other third's like just, if it's depleted by half right now.
No, I like you give me all my thirds right now before I'll take all the thirds of your teeth out of your head.
What this guy was doing though was he was giving them guaranteed minimums basically with all these bigger podcasts. It was almost like a Ponzi scheme because he was growing a bigger network by using their names. And a lot of these artists, a lot of these podcasters, they're asking like, how'd you get involved in this? Did he give you some big presentation? Did he come down to your office and wow you with his charisma? And they're like, no. Most of it was just word of mouth. This guy, I asked him, I saw him making money. I asked who he used. He told me this guy. I asked him, I never even met the guy. I signed up. And all these guys, no one did any research. They all just signed up. And what he was doing was he was offering these big minimums, these big guaranteed minimums, basically saying, hey, you sign with me, I guarantee you $500,000 or $1 million or $250,000 if you sign with me. And that means as soon as you sign with me, you don't have to do anything. Even if I don't get you any sponsorship, you're guaranteed that money. So then he could take that as leverage and then go get big offers from all these other like Blue Chew or Blue Apron or HelloFresh, and then get these big offers. And then he's the middleman, so he would get paid. And then he just went into the wind, dude. Bought a big house, started putting all this money into a shell LLC, and then so he robbed these guys like $400 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's like
$400 million?
Yeah, and I'm talking like like Brendan Schaub and like Brian Callen, like those Fighting the Kid, like that whole Theo Von, like all that kind of group. Bobby Lee, I think, was like all those kind of guys are all like in. So it's like a lot of these the kind of bigger podcast names. he had like a lot of them, and he robbed them big, dude. Yeah.
Damn.
Now, on a lighter note, on a lighter scam,
we got ourselves a scam.
There was this guy who he finally got caught because he went too big with it. He got a little too greedy. But what he was doing was he had a ring.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Too greedy.
Too greedy. Yeah, it's too clever, too greedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had a ring. He was going through self-checkout. And this has been going on. I saw this one first, but then I started seeing very similar stories popping up all over the country. But this guy was the first I saw where he went in with the ring that had a barcode on it for a can of like 70-cent soup. And then when he was pretending to scan items, he was actually just scanning this ring and ringing up soup. So like the scanners were saying that he was scanning shit, and then he was just and then he was dipping. But finally, I guess he did scan a $300 a propane grill, and Hank Hill would be very proud of him. And then he didn't get caught until he went actually to his house, and they finally, through surveillance and AI technology, like traced him back to his house. They're like, hey, what's up with that grill? And then he finally admitted to doing it like several places. And then again, like I said, I started seeing these stories popping up a lot of places, like people doing very similar things. Like, man, I don't know. I think the key would be to have several different barcodes. You can't just have like tomato soup over and over and over and over again.
I know. It's like, why are you buying 15 cans of soup every day?
I'm a big fan of Bloody Marys,
I got a bad heart, eh?
Yeah, exactly. We both suck. But anyway, but I would say like probably like on the back of your phone, right? You could get like 12 barcodes on there of like varying things, like boxes of like crackers.
Why'd you say crackers?
With your soup, Dude,
that reminds me of this one time, Sonia, I think she was like 3 at the time. She was saying goodnight and going to bed, and Alan was going to put her to bed. She was like, goodnight, boops, goodnight, plants, goodnight, kitchen. And then she goes, goodnight, crackers. And then she walks by, and Max and I look at each other, and he's like, is she talking to us now?
That's adorable, though.
It was cute.
Sweet story.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so actually I've been watching this. What kind of prompted this whole thing was I've been watching this show. It's called, I think it's on Hulu. It's called The Scam Queen or something like that. And basically it's like this black chick. She's pretty young, probably like in her 20s. She goes around like not investigating because these are all scams that already happened, but she's kind of like just reporting on scams. She like interviews like victims and survivors and people who are involved. And anyway, one that caught my freaking attention was freaking attention was there was this some other black chick. She was going around scamming like in a like famous black male athletes. And she was going like, I'm a Harvard graduate. I'm also a black woman, so I understand the struggle, and I want to make you I'll be your financial manager. So give me power. So they're giving her a power of attorney, basically, and she was just like robbing them. And she was very like, checks in the mail. I swear, the checks in the mail, kind of shit. So
yeah.
But anyway, the one that blew my mind the most was one guy she got was Dennis Rodman, and she was robbing him for years and years and years. But then she said that he got behind in child support for 4 months, and it was in excess of $5 million for 4 months of child support. Yeah, for 4 months of child support, it was in excess of $5 million that he owed in child support for one lady. And that's when he started being like, hey, what the fuck? But everything else he was like fine with it. But imagine, dude, $5 million. That's 1.25 a month, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
That's
1 point.
bananas,
Yeah,
dude.
1 point.
Yeah, it'd have to be and then another quarter, $1 million, and then another quarter. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. For one. I mean, I think it was just the one kid.
Man, I let the wrong guys come inside of me.
I was gonna say, dude, like I understand trapping a motherfucker now, dude. Like
I know now. I get why those bitches did that shit.
I do. I get it now. Like those. I take it back, ladies. That's a lot.
Do you and him?
Yeah. Crazy, dude. But yeah, that was the one that prompted me to be like, oh shit, the scams is like an interesting a lane. I got to bring this one to the table, dude. This one's wild. Who
I
would
know
have
that
thought?
is wild. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Hang on. Like it's hard to say that sound fast like that. Wild.
Yeah, it's the switch from the it's too the Y sound is too long, you know what I mean? It doesn't go that shape of your mouth. You get it. But that's why I brought that up too also heretofore. I wanted to
Well, that's a fancy word.
yeah, to us, you know, if and when it does happen, you know, you want to be careful. You don't want to just that is because I see it similar to like a football deal, like where like a quarterback's coming straight out of college, and one team's like, we'll give you $50 million, and this other team's like, we'll give you 40, but we'll give you 10 million guaranteed, and you're like, holy shit, guaranteed 10 million, and of course you're gonna take that deal, and then because you don't got to worry about anything, right? But then if they just end up robbing all of your money and never paying you,
oh yeah,
fuck, you know what I mean? So,
well, my sister-in-law is a lawyer, so when it comes to that, like I could have her look over everything and make sure we're not getting, you know, because she does copyright law. And so
really, how do you get into that?
I know, right? I don't know.
Wait, yeah.
I know, right? Yeah. I don't
know. You know right, but you don't know how to do that though. But you sure know right.
I am. Yeah, I don't know left, but I do know right.
Yeah, you don't want to know left, dude. He's a little shifty.
Little shifty, lifty.
Did you hear that they finally figured out who Jack the Ripper was?
Oh yeah, you said that. I swear I read an article years ago though. Like, is this a new story or did you just find the story?
I thought it was new. It said it said this year.
Okay.
The one I saw said this year, but it could be. I don't know. But man, now you're making me doubt it. But I just it popped up and then I remember because I remember looking at it and I was like, is this old or new? And then I saw and it was like brand new. I was like, oh shit! And it said like the date of whatever day it was a couple weeks ago.
The date of whatever day it was.
Yeah, that you get it. February something. February 13th is when I typed it to myself. When I texted to myself.
Interesting. So who?
So it was a barber. Actually, his name was Aaron Kosminski. Aaron Kosminski was actually a barber. He was mentally ill, and he actually ended up serving the rest of his time in a mental institution. They actually ended up catching him without knowing they caught him. It's basically what happened. But how they actually were able to catch him or figure out who it was one of the victims' scarves was covered in blood, and they got auctioned off, and some like Jack the Ripper enthusiast, who is still a Jack the Ripper enthusiast. But anyway, some Jack the Ripper enthusiast, he bought this thing for a bunch of money and then had it tested. And then through DNA, whatever, Match.com or whatever things you send 23andMe and all that stuff, his great, however many great granddaughters, it was a match. Wow. It was his brother's great. So his, niece or whatever.
That's crazy. That sucks because I kind of like the story that media said. It was so compelling.
Oh, I knew. I heard about. I didn't actually listen to. I heard about it, but I actually missed 2 podcasts about it. Like I had a chance to. And
what?
So I actually don't know
what
the story about the medium. Well, I heard a story about a bunch of mediums that they said they talked to Jack the Ripper.
No, I talked about it on a podcast episode. I said I was watching this channeling thing one night when I was cooking, and she channeled Jack the Ripper, and who he was like a doctor, or he was fascinated by the body and would publish his findings under a pseudonym that are still, in like circulation in the medical community today. Like, yeah, I liked that story a lot better than some mental patient.
It's possible. He's not. Well, no,
because he wasn't. It was all in the name of science. It wasn't because he wanted to kill these women and be a terrorizing whatever. It was. I found that to be fascinating.
It still could be true because if you're mentally crazy, but back then everyone was mentally crazy. If you're like,
well, yeah, that is true. If you are different and march the beat of your own drum, you could get institutionalized.
Yeah, you were institutionalized for all kinds people like genius people that we would consider brilliant today would have been institutionalized back then. So that could still be true. He could have been using a pseudonym and all stuff. And they were like, this guy's fucking crazy for whatever reason. He was actually brilliant. And, but the reality was that his
even
actual
if he had a
profession,
small dose of autism, you know what I mean? That can make someone appear crazy. Yeah, totally.
Just a tad.
A touch of the tism.
Yeah. That's his actual, what he got paid to do for a living he was a barber, which it's kind of like a Sweeney Todd, I guess.
Well, and it could make sense. I mean, he uses a blade,
very sharp blades.
Yeah. Like that makes sense. That's really interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things that it is really interesting, but it's like it didn't bring peace to anybody. Like no, there's no like survivors like, oh yeah, and now finally my aunt whatever can be laid to rest, and it was 150 years ago. So, but it is interesting.
Yeah. AI told me about some scams.
We got ourselves a scam.
The lottery lawyer scam. A lawyer who helped lottery winners manage their money ended up scamming them out of millions. He convinced them to invest in fake ventures and then pocketed the cash.
I do remember seeing that one. Yeah, I actually like on some show.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Did anyone die?
But did they die?
But did they die?
I don't know. I could expand on it, because
I know there's a couple. There was a couple of them. There's one where like someone died, like someone got murdered. And they couldn't figure it out. And they found out it was just like business partner who was actually having to invest, and a bunch of the people invest in fake shit. And then there's another one like some lady, same thing. Some black dude like won the lottery, but he was super nice and he was hooking all his friends up. And then he got shot, and they finally found it was this like financial manager who was actually, robbing him blind the whole time.
Like that's kind of, I don't know. That's so stupid. Like people, I don't know. People who are in control of someone's money. I don't like. How do I say this? Sorry, I have like a couple thoughts coming at me at once, because it's like people are fucking crazy about their money. Like that show. Do you ever watch that Lieutenant Joe Kenda show on?
Yeah. I know. I
love him.
Yeah, I do too.
Love him. Yeah,
I do like the younger version of him too. You know what I mean?
Me too. Yeah. He said, he's like, there's only 3 reasons why people commit murder. It's rage, sex, or money. Like that's literally the only and every murder you could literally classify it under, trace it back to that. And so it's like being a financial advisor, or especially when you're working with dangerous people and you're going to scam them out of money, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like I swear to God. In fact, Clarissa and I were watching that Rihanna video where she's like, bitch better have my money.
Yeah.
That video, because I'm like, given what it's about, because she had a guy fucking with her money, and like knowing who she's involved with, I told Clarissa, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if the blood on her at the end of the video is real.
Right.
Like, I swear to God. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Like, why would you steal from dangerous people? You deserve all of that hellfire.
Yeah. Like from the mob or something like that.
I know, that's the stupidest one, is the mob, especially, I don't know. That's just the stupidest ones to steal from. Like, you deserve it. I don't feel bad for you.
I don't.
You completely deserve it.
Well, why would you do that? Yeah, or like Ponzi schemes. You know what a Ponzi scheme is, right?
Yeah, they're like the like Enron bullshit and stuff, right?
Well, basically, it's basically where like you accept money from someone with the promise, under the guise of taking that money and investing it on a high return, but actually you're just taking their money and spending it, and then you're doing the same thing over and over and over again and borrowing it from one person and putting it into another account to make the first person think that their account has grown, and then you take that money, spend it, and then you do it to a third person, and then put that money in the second person's account to make their think that their money has grown, but you just eventually it's there's no way it's not going to fail, because you're just going to have to keep borrowing more and more money until people are going to want their investment back eventually. And eventually it's designed to fail, but people do it all the time. Like Bernie Madoff was like the biggest one.
Oh, okay.
But like, but that's just, there's no way that eventually that's not all going to collapse. It's never, ever, ever worked out for anyone, but people keep on trying to do it. And because it's like, it is a good scam until it isn't. And people keep trying to do it forever and ever and ever. And then eventually it all blows up in their face, and they're public enemy number one. And then there's people that's done it. Like those ones where like, the guy will was like scamming women by making them believe that he was like the super rich guy, but then he just needed to borrow money from them because like people were trying to attack him, and then he was under investigation, so he couldn't get his money out, so he just needed to borrow money for plane tickets and blah blah, and he was just doing this over and over, and then he got caught and did a little bit of time, and then started doing it again.
Wasn't that a Netflix thing?
Yeah. That's
I swear, what was that called?
It was the Netflix Swindler or Tinder Swindler or some shit. There's a couple of them. I'm saying there's so many of them there that it gets confusing. But I think there's one called the Tinder Swindler. I think that's what I'm talking about. But I know there's several of them where like the guys have done that where they like, they pretend to be super rich. They take them somewhere super fancy on a private jet, and it's
just
because
love bomb them.
Right, exactly. And it's because
shit.
they've been doing this to some other chick and got all this money from her first to be able to woo the second chick and get money from her and just keep it going. But eventually,
we were like, woo.
Exactly, like exactly, the Ric Flair. But then it did. Yeah, that's so crazy. It's not gonna. And that's like how that just imagine that being your whole life is just you have to keep perpetuating a lie and a lie and a lie just to keep surviving every day. You have to keep coming up with a bigger lie to make to cover that first 700 lies. That's your everyday life. That'd be so exhausting, dude. I couldn't, man.
I know.
I wouldn't be. It's not worth the money. I don't understand how you can enjoy the money or how I could even enjoy that. Anyway.
I know, because and to like keep track of all your lies, like that's got to be exhausting.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's sometimes it's so exhausting just trying to keep track. Like Mark Twain said, "A man who never lies never has to remember what he said." You know,
exactly. God, for real, I can't remember what I said because I'm retarded. I can see that's the improper retarded.
That's the offensive kind. Offensive retarded. Yeah. So it's like a stop thing.
Offensive. Offensive. And then have a girl go, oh.
Oh my God. It's so 2000. Dude, I was the other day I was at the gym and I heard this song come on. It was like, I can't wait for the weekend to begin. Remember that song?
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
I can't wait for the week. There we go.
To begin. Like I know the club, like the club song or the
dude. It got me so nostalgic, and then so I just started looking up like 2000s like that kind of style of like dance shit, whatever. And man, it was like that was some fun times, dude.
I know. I had the best club hits album in Germany. My friend Tanya.
Oh yeah, Germany too. I bet that was crazy.
Well, there was one that came out. It was like Club Hits 05.
I think that's when that song was out, about 05. Yeah.
Yeah, it was because it was on that album.
Oh, there you go.
Because she burned me a copy. And I
really dating ourselves on that one, huh?
I know, right? And I took it with me to Iraq. Like that fucking shit. Like I used to run on the treadmill for like 45 minutes.
Got you through some shit, huh?
Oh, yeah. Like I would play the album. And by the time I got to like, a certain song, I would be done on the treadmill and go.
And you're like, I just fucking groove through that whole workout.
Well, it's just so nostalgic when I hear those songs. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm running on a treadmill.
No, I know exactly. That's why it was so perfect because like I always wear headphones at the gym, but then I just happen to pause. I just happened to pause them to think or something like that. And that song was just happy to be playing on like the big speakers in the background. And I was like, oh shit. And then I just like Shazammed it and I was like, oh, okay. And then I just went from there and just started, going down nostalgia lane. Yeah. And then it was like dance. I think it said like dance hits 05 or something like that. So I was like, yeah, I think we had I think I found the album you used to work out to.
There's a song on that album that's called Poison, and that is my fucking favorite. Like Tanya and I, we have some fond memories of that song. Like I got pictures of her dancing to it out in this, like it snowed one night and I got pictures of her dancing in the parking lot to it. Like she's like doing this pretend, because it's about sex, obviously.
Sure.
And it's like she was doing like this striptease kind of dance, it was fucking hilarious.
Do you know who sang it?
No, I really don't. In fact, I could find the album on iTunes. I bet I could totally find it. Club
totally.
Hits.
That sounds about right.
Oh my God, Hate It or Love It. That song reminds me of Our Crew by 50 Cent. Oh my God, I love that. I gotta add that to my playlist.
Oh yeah, it's nostalgia lane. I'll admit I was hating on the 2000s for a little while because I saw like Dude, Where's My Car? And I was like, ugh. That's what I remember. But that's like the early, that was like 2000, like, early 2000s was still pretty cringy. But like, once like mid 2000s came around, that's, when we're coming to our youth who were like, 19, 20. That's when like the 2000s started getting pretty cool, I think.
Oh my God, I know, right? Girl is poison.
That's the one that keeps popping up. And I'm like, I know it's not that one, even though that's a good one. That's not the Poison you're talking about.
Oh my God, there's this fucking bottle of wine at the store today, and it's named Gnarly Head.
Jeez.
That's what I said. I was like, oh my God. And
is it like, oh my, is it with the G, Like,
Yeah.
Is it go gnarly with the? Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I was like, and so I wrote, she gave.
Yeah. Always a child. So you didn't buy you just fucking vandalized it, all right?
No, I took a Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
It's on my story. Here, I'll send you the picture. It's funny.
Oh, okay. I
But
thought you were serious. Like I didn't purchase it. I just got it. I just always carry a Sharpie with me. Just wrote on there.
I do. She gave gnarly head with her feisty taco.
With her glizzy gobbler.
I wish I could find the album that all of those are on, because there's even some ones that are like just regular 80s or 90s songs that I'm like, that they're resampled, obviously, you know,
Right.
and it's fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks too. There's like so many there's so many back in the days of like just going to a CD shop or whatever and then just seeing a CD that looked cool and you're like, fuck it. And then I would never be able to replace some of those, you know what I mean? That I just lost over time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just like, oh man, I'm never gonna find. There's no way I'm gonna find that one album or even sometimes I remember like albums sometimes would have like a free album that would have like a bunch of like one song from all the album or from all their new artists or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
From the labels artists, like all their new artists, they would give you like here's an album with like 16 songs, one from each of our new or three from each of our new artists or whatever. Never gonna find that album again.
Dude, I got this album at American Eagle one time. I spent way too much fucking money there.
Yeah.
I got this free album and it was so fucking good.
Yeah.
And it was funny because like I'd listen to it in my car, you know, and like my friends are like, your music sucks. Like, where did you find, like, I listened to just all this underground indie, like just shit, you know? And I'm like, all right. And then years later, like some of them are like songs to TV shows or like, do you see them in a movie or like I don't know,
Right.
they're everywhere. And I'm like, that was on that album.
I remember there's this band called Postal Service that they had but they're like one of those bands like
that's the Death Cab for Cutie guy.
Yeah, exactly. But they had so many like so many of their songs got turned into like commercials, but like not like, you know, remixes and shit out there, but it's like that's a Postal Service song, but it's just like remixed somehow, or it's like an acoustic version or something.
I know it was like a UPS ad or
for sure, and but there was a lot.
I remember that too. Yeah, I remember that one.
Heights come down now. They'll say, they had all, and there was like, but a lot of their songs from that album, I think they had like at least one big album. And anyway, like I kept hearing their songs, but like not quite their version. On like they sold out hard. Good for them, you know.
They sold out hard.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, whatever. He had Death Cab too, so.
I know. I like Death Cab.
Yeah, they're both tight.
Death Cab was another deployment. I listened to them all the time on my deployment. Like, I got like my heart broken for the first time in my life on my deployment, and so I was like, it was perfect. I'm
about to say that's the band to listen to if you get your, you know what I mean? Like that's the perfect. Yeah. They were invented for like when you get your heart broken. Here's Death Cab.
I would just like cry in my bunk listening to their stuff on my iPad or iPod.
I know. Yeah, you didn't have an iPad yet, and it's from the
not
future.
Yet. No,
not yet.
But
when did pads come out? When they go from the pond to the pad?
The pond to the pad. When did they make that switch?
Yeah.
No, you know what song I love? I found it in college. But I can't find it on iTunes or anywhere. But it's the song called "Serendipity" by Tom Middleton, and it's so fucking good.
Tom Middleton.
And I
Where does that name sound familiar?
Can't find it anywhere. In fact, let me try to find it again on here.
You know what's okay? So that's interesting. Just kind of a side topic, but I remember when around the same time, early to mid 2000s, first laptop era. I remember there was this porn site. It was called Bookworm Bitches, right? And you get the idea, right? What it is. It was all students boning their teachers, right? But anyway, I later, 10 years later in the 2010s, I looked it up. I couldn't find it. It was like it never existed. And I was like, am I crazy? But I looked at it, I could not find it. Yeah, and I was like, it was almost like it never existed. Finally, after doing some, a little bit more research, I found out that it still did exist, but the name was deemed too offensive. So they had to change it from Bookworm Bitches to Naughty Bookworms.
Oh God!
Because
like
the name
of
was
the
too
video.
offensive.
Yeah, the name's what's offensive.
These
Shut
barely
the fuck
legal
up.
teens boning their teacher, their
Oh my
professors.
God.
The name's a little much, guys.
Yeah, it's a little aggressive. Okay.
But I thought I was crazy for like, I was like, did I, was that all just a fantasy? This
Was
did
it
exist,
just
right?
fantasy?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Felt like
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, can't find it on iTunes. Not on there. Let me find it here. Yeah, it's on fucking YouTube. I gotta
Wow.
send you the song. The song's good too.
What song is it?
It's called Serendipity. I played it for what's the guy's name? Is it Corey?
Kurt Russell? Corey.
Is
Yeah,
that
Corey.
his name?
There was a Corey, yeah.
Yeah, he hung out with
Domar, yeah.
Justin
Domar and
Doma-
Justin, and yeah.
Yeah, I played it for, no, it was him that I played it for in class. I was like, dude, I found the dopest song. And he was like, let me hear it. And I played it for him. And he was like, oh my God, that's fucking dope. I was like, right, dude, I wish I could. Like, I like making chill beats like that. That's my favorite kind of. I'm going to make some like chill hop for Hardy. He was like, make it at like 60 BPM so I could like double time with the rap. I was like, I'm going to fall asleep if I have to make a beat.
60 BPM, Jesus, that's crazy. That's really slow.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
Yeah, just no.
I'm good.
I'll make it at 120 and then you can what's
And then
the
you
opposite
can-
of double time?
I know. I'm like, then you can figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, speaking of bookworm bitches and porn, we have to talk about that Lily Phillips chick, dude. So, dude, I have so many questions, yet so few. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I have like a series of yes or no questions, but if I ask the right one, then all my questions will be answered. You know what I mean?
It's like one of those like the end level puzzle, on a video game.
Exactly. And if you ask just the right, I could ask, and just pick away at it.
Then the
and maybe
codex will open.
Right. But if I ask just the right one, yes. And all of a sudden, like all things will align. You hear clickings and ching ching chimes, a lot of chimes. All right, but my first question would be, okay, so I'm assuming that she's trying to say that she doesn't know who the father is, right? You know what we're talking about, right? You're on board with what we're talking about right now?
Yeah, I sent you.
Okay.
I was like, we gotta talk about this. But
I wasn't sure if you remember
listeners,
the chick's name. Yeah.
We're revisiting a story from a couple episodes back about the chick who boned like 1,000 guys.
It was 100, I think, the first time. Yeah, it was 100. Remember, I made the 101 Dalmatians joke. So it was. I don't know if you caught it the first time.
I know, but on the meme they said 1,000.
I know, but
did she not really bone 1,000?
I think she did 100, and then her goal was to hit 1,000, and then on the meme it said 1,000, but I don't think she ever got to the 1,000. If she got, and then I see the other ones that it was 100. That was actually off the 100. So maybe they just, people. That's the internet. They add a zero for comedic inflation effects.
Oh yeah, clickbait.
Yeah,
but anyway, that's what we're talking about. So it's just by the time this episode airs, it's going to be old news.
Probably, yeah.
We need to go to a weekly format so that we can be current on these episodes.
Yeah. More topical. Yeah. But anyway,
yeah.
So first of all, I guess what she's trying to say is that, first of all, is she saying that she doesn't know who the father is, correct?
Yeah.
And also, is she trying to say that it's for sure because of this event? Because I don't feel like she's the type of chick who's real celibate. Aside, does she just only hits gangbangs and then the rest of the time she's not?
It's like, no, I've got standards.
Yeah. No, it was 3 months. I was, at a nunnery, and then the gangbang happened, and then back to the convent. No, I think
time for prayer.
Yeah. So I think, is she trying to say like, yeah, it's definitely one of those 100? Or is she saying like, I don't know, it's some, and then is she saying like, no, the doctor said it was conceived on that day, or, like,
well,
I need more.
You can't,
they can't do that?
Yeah, you can't tell when it
That's
actually
the day,
was
right?
conceived. Yeah, no.
Right. I wasn't sure because I've heard chicks tell me, I've heard both stories, and I'm not a doctor.
I mean, you have a window because of when you're ovulating, but I'm saying like the actual moment the sperm hit the egg, the date, because it's a window of time. But yeah, it's not the exact. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're like your window of time is 3 days, and you're like, I boned in one of those days, it's that day.
Well, yeah, because if you hit your ovulation, I mean, obviously you did. That's another thing is like you can only get pregnant like 3 or 4 days out of the month, like literally.
Right.
That's science, okay? Like
Right,
you
yeah.
can't. And anybody who got pregnant outside of that is just they ovulated early or late, but literally you can't get pregnant until that egg is released. And
Right.
so that's why there's that window of time. And little side note, oh my God, when I remember I was I was getting off work at the DFAC. I was getting ready to go. I worked nights and I was getting ready to go to the gym, and I tracked my cycles, and it was like, oh, your periods will start this day. Here was the day you ovulated. And I'm like, oh my God. And I looked at the dates because I knew that weekend Chad and I, boned a lot without a condom.
Right.
And fucking, there was a calendar behind me, and I like looked at the calendar, and then I looked back at the computer. I was like,
you just saw like your future happening.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh fuck. And then of course I missed my period, and I didn't even register because I had no symptoms whatsoever, just except for the missed period,
Right.
And so I was like, I'll take a test to rule it out, and I did, and it instantly turned, like, I don't know why people wait on their tests. Like mine instantly turned positive with every kid. Instant positive. It's like, oh yeah, you pregnant.
Yeah. You know what? Missed your period is such a funny term, because I mean, at first you're like, you don't really miss it because who misses a period? But then you're like, oh fuck, I really miss having a period because that means I'm pregnant.
Well, I was gonna say no, sorry, I'm trying to wrap my. I enjoy having one because I know I'm not pregnant.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where like,
oh,
it's
miss
like,
it, yeah.
I don't really miss it, but then you like,
I think it's a different. I think it's a different use of the word, because you know how some words mean different things.
No, homonyms. Yeah.
Homina.
Unoffensive, retarded. What was the rest of the sound? We're gonna come up with one. Lily. Oh yeah. Her being unoffensive, retarded, and pregnant, and not knowing who the father is, and saying that it's probably. Oh yeah, and then back to the window. That's where we were. All right, back to the window of ovulation. Reverse back to the conversation of ovulation.
And I mean, I don't know. That's just because that's another thing too. Like if she barebacking that many dudes,
I know. And then like, yeah. So I mean, like, is that what happened? Like, first of all,
because maybe
even if you're barebacking, you'd still are not barebacking, but you'd also go like birth control. I would try like every method to be in place.
I mean, maybe she has a boyfriend on the, like, that's kind of odd.
That's what I'm also saying.
To have a boyfriend, and she's like, your girlfriend's boning all the, like, no. Hell no.
That's a confident man, dude. You know what I mean?
I mean, he's got to be a sex worker too.
He's probably obviously. Yeah, that's most of the time when you see that. Like, it's, you're like, how's that chick has a boyfriend? But then like you see like they're in scenes together, and you're like, oh, okay, it makes sense.
And you're like, okay, I see it.
I get it. Yeah,
they're work friends.
Yeah, that's his work wife. All right, I get it.
It's his work vagina.
Yeah. Jeez. But anyway, so yeah, so I mean, isn't her boyfriend like in on it too, or like filming it and stuff like that?
Well, he will be now.
Well, I mean, is he? And then also, is that so? She has a boyfriend. Is that what we're saying?
No, I don't know if that's what we're saying. I'm saying,
I don't know what we're saying.
Like if she, because that's the thing, is if she's barebacking all these guys, then it could be anyone. But if she's using a condom with all those guys, then there's somebody that she's having sex with outside of that.
Right, because you would know
that got her pregnant. You
would think you would notice if one of them broke. Like if they're all using condoms, but then one guy broke in there.
Well, yeah, because it's not foolproof. In fact, she could be the whole statistic, because it's like, it's 98% effective. So
right,
it's like out of 1,000 guys, it's only
she really
work.
took the statistics to like, I'm going to prove these things correct or not.
Yeah, it worked.
98% of the time. Well, fucking, there's other 2%, bitch.
Yeah, this is the 2%.
Yeah. I mean, and then my friend, one of my friends or coworkers, he's trying to reference some kids movie where like this alien, like it pushes a thing, and like one arm is like one alien and the other arm is like a different kind of alien. He's like, that's what the baby's going to be like. It's going to be like one arm is going to be a black guy. Yeah, one guy's going to be like a really hairy Italian arm.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man, that reminds me of obscure movie quotes and stuff. Like the Monsters vs. Aliens. Have you ever seen that movie?
Monsters vs. Aliens. It's like a kids movie?
Yeah.
And I mean, I have, but I'm not
It's so funny. You got to
Okay.
watch it. Yeah, it's
Fine, yeah.
so fucking funny. Like one of my favorite lines, this newscaster's like, yeah, there's an alien ship that landed in America because that's the only place these aliens ever seem to land.
Right? Yeah,
Like,
true. Yeah, it is true. They never go to they never land in England or Russia or fucking China. It's always in
it's always
America.
America. And it's in San Francisco, this
Right.
one. And the alien is played by Rainn Wilson. And
Okay.
they were like, because I guess like this asteroid crashed into Earth, and Reese Witherspoon plays this chick, and Paul Rudd plays the guy that she's supposed to marry, and he's like this newscaster or whatever. Which it just dawned on he's a weatherman. So she gets hit by this fucking asteroid, and then it makes her get like 60 feet tall, like she just becomes a giant. So the government swoops in, takes her, and Keith Sutherland, Keith?
Kiefer? Keith?
Kiefer, yeah, Kiefer
Keith.
Sutherland. Well, no, I said Keith. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was like. Yeah, like you're gonna go smoke some. Open up that bottle with that Keith Sutherland
I'm
catcher.
just abbreviating his name like I know him. Yo,
Yeah.
Keith.
Oh yeah, it's my buddy Keith. I know you guys call him Kiefer, but we and
Then
him
I'm
we
like,
go back.
is it Keith? I was like,
No,
it's not
no.
Keith.
No, of course not Keith. It's Keith. You don't know Keith? Lost Boys. Come on.
Oh man, is Dad Don?
Yeah, Don. Actually, I just saw a movie with Don, and dude, it could be from the '90s or he looks the same. Oh, he's always old.
Do.
He's just
They
old.
look
He's just,
exactly the same. I know, it's crazy.
yeah, but they're old as he's always looked old. But anyway, go ahead.
But
Go Keith.
Kiefer Sutherland plays the guy who runs his name's W.R. Monger in the show.
Oh yeah, no, okay, so I have seen that, but it's one of those ones that
Dude,
it was
and
like
fucking
on.
Will Arnett plays this missing link kind of guy. He's like this amphibian or whatever. And they're going by each of their cages, and he's like, he sees her come by. He's like, oh, 998, 999. 1,000. He's like, yeah, can't believe I did 10 sets.
Dude, like Will Arnett. Have you ever watched that show BoJack Horseman?
No, but I got to. Yeah, I haven't.
No, it's a great show. There's this one scene though where like he goes on this like long rant, and then he says something, and then he's like, no pun intended. And she's like, that pun was totally intended. Like that just reminds me of that one time when you said that to me. But yeah, or you said that to Max.
Yeah.
But yeah, Will Arnett's. But that show Baked. Half baked? No, flaked. Where he's like it's called Flaked. He's like a recovering alcoholic, and he like does speeches and shit like that. But it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
But anyway, that long ass buildup. One of my favorite lines from that movie, the computer system of the alien ship that Rainn Wilson's character's in, I think it's Sigourney Weaver's voice is in that one again, but I can't remember. But she's like, we found the plutonium or whatever the fuck it's called,
right,
on a planet in the Omega Quadrant. And he's like, the Omega Quadrant?
Right.
Lame.
I can hear all these voices.
Well, like sometimes when something's lame, I'm always like, oh,
you hear that voice.
Omega Quadrant.
Yeah, lame.
But yeah, I have a lot of obscure things. I quote that movie a lot without realizing it. Like I watched it like a year or so ago with Sonia, and I'm like, damn, I got that from this movie too.
Yeah.
A lot of my materials from this
movie. Where did I get that from? And then you end up watching something, and then you're like, oh, I did watch that like 7 years ago with my daughter. That's where I got it from. God.
Okay, so I have more scams too.
We got ourselves a scam.
All right, go ahead. Spit them out.
Spit them out. A Florida man pretended to be a Saudi royal for over 30 years, living in luxury, securing loans, and fooling elite circles before initially getting caught.
Fucking tell me more.
I know. Okay.
What?
Tell me more about.
For 30 years, you say?
Yeah. Saudi prince scam.
So since like the 90s, he's been doing this.
The fake Saudi prince scam is fascinating and a wild story involving a man named Adam S. T. Benson, who posed as a Saudi prince for years, living in a luxurious lifestyle and scamming people out of millions of dollars. Here are the key points. The setup. Benson, a man with no royal connections, convinced people that he was a member of the Saudi royal family He claimed to be Prince Abdullah bin Zayed Al Sayud, and spun an elaborate tale of his family's immense wealth and status. He would even flaunt lavish cars, exotic vacations, and other signs of extreme wealth to reinforce his ruse. How did he get this money in the first place, though? That's crazy.
Yeah.
The fraud. Over time, Benson made connections with high-profile people, business owners, potential investors, and others in elite social circles who were impressed by his supposed royal status. He would invite people over to invest in joint ventures, promising a share of lucrative business opportunities. In reality, these adventures. They
sound fucking adventurous. All right, go ahead.
These ventures were either non-existent or already heavily indebted. His charm, smooth talk, and supposed royal connections made it easy for him to convince people to part with large sums of money.
Sounds Ponzi scheme-ish.
I know, right? How it fell apart. The scam eventually unraveled when Benson's inconsistencies began to surface. Some of the people that he had scammed started to question his story, and they began investigating his background. He was finally caught when a former accomplice spilled the truth, leading authorities to investigate further. It was discovered that he had been living a life of complete fabrication, and his connections to the Saudi royal family were non-existent. Benson was arrested and charged with multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. He was eventually convicted and sentenced to a lengthy prison term.
It was a white dude named Eric Benson. It was just convincing people. Adam Benson. And he was just convincing people for 30 years that he was like, man, my cousin Ahmed, he's got me good for millions, dude. But I'll pay you back. This sounds very, very Ponzi, dude. He just kept using. Did you ever watch that boy band documentary that loop? First of all, side note. This is the kind of world we live in. The most shocking part of that documentary to me was that at no point did he molest anybody. That was the most shocking part. I was like, really? None of them? He didn't molest anybody? Wow, okay. But yeah,
I think he did.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't admit it either if I was, Chris Kirkpatrick or whatever. But anyway, but it was the same kind of thing. He was he had that how he got all his money. He said he started renting out private jets to celebrities. And then he started getting bigger connections and getting more. And then when those boy bands got successful, he started making bigger connections and getting bigger investments. But they started investigating and found that the planes never existed. None of that shit ever existed. It was all just a big Ponzi scheme where he was getting people to invest more and more money into him and using these boy bands as leverage and shit like that. You know what I mean? Which sounds like the same kind of thing. He was just getting more and more connections. And then with the more people that he got to buy into it, it gave him more leverage because there are people oh shit, well, if so and so is giving him all this money, then obviously he's legit, and then I'll give him money too,
Well, I remember when that was going on. Because I was a huge NSYNC fan, and I remember there was a news story that they were going to court with him, and there was a chance that they would lose their name, and they were trying to break free from him and keep their name and all this shit, and
because they actually created. It was the two of them, with three. They created NSYNC. He didn't create NSYNC. You know what I mean?
I don't
it was. I remember it was Chris. I saw the thing. It was Chris Kirkpatrick and Justin Timberlake were they're the ones who came up with the name and everything like that, and then they're the ones who created the group, and then they're the ones that. And then Lou Pearlman saw them was yo, I can make you stars, whatever.
Yeah,
but they're the ones that came up with the name.
Because I remember watching a documentary. His mom, Justin Timberlake's mom, was saying that her and one of the moms, I think it might have been, I don't know, but there was I think it I was under the impression that it was the moms that came up with it, and they use the last letters of every one of their names, or each letter of NSYNC stands for a person in the band that, and they thought it was so
just worked out,
yeah.
Where's the Y coming from? Yandel. Oh yeah, that Yandel. Remember Yandel? Remember him? Where's the Y? How is N for Justin?
Joey. It's Joey. The Y.
Oh,
Joey.
The last name, the last letter of all their names. Is that what you're trying to say?
I believe so. The last letter of each of their names.
Okay, sure.
Because Justin. And then JC, and then Chris, and then Joey, and then Lance. Well, Lanston. His name's Lanston, but it's the N.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Whatever.
I swear to God, it really
I believe you saw this. I'm just saying, I don't know. I buy that's what really happened. I'd be like,
pull up a beat, I'll solve it.
Yeah, check out the hook. But anyway, like,
why? Hey, I'm a DJ and I'll revolve it.
Oh, yeah, you will. Yeah, you actually brought that up earlier. But no. So what I saw.
Oh my God,
before I lose track of what I was thinking.
Oh God.
I saw it was Chris Kirkpatrick and Justin Timberlake. They were like friends and they were like on some Disney shit together. And then they were both like, yo, we're in sync.
No, it wasn't Chris Kirkpatrick. It was JC and him that were on.
But Chris Kirkpatrick was talking to Justin first. And then Justin was like, yo, I got my boy JC. He was in Disney. So then they have the three of them. But Chris Kirkpatrick was involved.
You just
really
love
early
to
on.
say Chris Kirkpatrick.
I do. He was just early on. He's like the only one I know is like full name. I'm like, besides Justin Timberlake. And Joey Fat One. That's his name, dude. That's his real name. Do whatever. Fatone, sure. Anyway.
Oh, that's funny. Right. I like that.
All right, what were you? But he's the only one that I actually do. Like, I like the Big Fat Greek Wedding movies and stuff like that.
I know he was really good in that one. He's a great actor. Yeah, he's a great actor.
All right, go ahead. What were you gonna say? Moving on to what we lost. Uh-oh.
Well, no, it doesn't fit now. So whatever. Fuck you.
I think I just did something.
I have other scams.
We got ourselves a scam.
The Great Wine Fraud. A con artist named Ruby Kurniawan.
Not gonna work here anymore. All right.
Kurniawan no mo. A con artist named Ruby Kurniawan sold millions in counterfeit vintage wines, mixing cheap wines and relabeling them as rare bottles. Wealthy collectors were scammed for years. That's funny. So
okay, so she was just taking the labels and switching them, or was she like keeping the labels on the bottles and just like putting different? But what that? Okay, hold on. So
I don't know how that would work because sometimes the cork has the logo on it. You know what I mean?
Right. And then so
it's like you have you take the tag off of a yellowtail wine, right, and then you put this pretty vintage label, but you take out that plastic cork. It's like boop, and it's fucking yellowtail.
And then if you have so she's saying she just has because I mean if you already have the vintage bottle, wouldn't taking the label off that make that value go away off that bottle then? You know what I mean? I don't understand.
Oh, like the big expensive ones?
Yeah. So where are you getting the vintage labels from?
Probably printing them out,
Oh, when did this happen?
I don't know. I could ask him to go into it.
Yeah, I need a little more information. Because I'm like, so she was printing out fake vintage labels and then putting them on like shitty wine bottles. And then people for years were like, oh, I don't know. This had to have happened a while back. But then if it happened a while back, how was she printing shit? That's what I'm saying. I need answers.
Okay. The Great Wine Fraud is a legendary scam orchestrated by a man. Oh, it's Rudy, not Ruby. Oh, shit. Maybe I'm dyslexic.
Man,
now.
I was really rooting for Ruby. Rudy sounds kind of like a dick.
I know. He is a dick. He scammed people.
Yeah.
Ruby.
I was rooting for Ruby, though. I was like, hell yeah, Ruby. Go, girl.
Dude, okay. So, sidebar. The things that make you think of stuff, like obscure movie quotes.
Yeah.
This one's an obscure life quote. Okay, there was this time, one of my friends, we were friends in Utah before I moved here. We worked at Applebee's together. We used to get hella high and just space cruise and like sing and like just listen to music and smoke. And it was just the best.
Right.
And there was one
to be young.
Right. She used to be an alcoholic and she's like the happiest, loving, most wonderful soul when she's high. But when she's drunk, she is a cunt of all. Like she is the cunt supreme. Okay. And her words,
extra sour cream.
Yeah. Her words, not mine. And so
just to clarify.
Yeah. Because I actually have only seen her once drunk and I can confirm
for legal reasons.
She's kind of a bitch when she's drunk. I fucking testify. Love her. Yeah. She's just not a happy camper.
Gotcha.
She had to go to court because she so I can't remember. I don't want to quote the story because it's been a long time since I've heard it. But anyway, she had to go to court and she was like tired and she couldn't be high, because she had to piss test and all this shit. So, and she was there with her boyfriend at the time and someone called someone's name and like, they're just being silly, deliriously tired and making everything a joke. And someone called the name Ruby and she's like, Ruby?
Yeah.
Ruby, who's this Ruby bitch? So now every time I hear the name Ruby, I'm always like, Ruby.
Every time you see a thing of grape juice, like Ruby Red. Who's this Ruby?
Who's this
bitch?
Ruby bitch? Or there's this song by this like folk artists that are like only people from like this small town in North Carolina really heard it. It's like Patty and Bill, I think are their names.
Sure.
But they have this album that my brother brought home, and it's great Irish drinking music, you know.
Sure.
But there's this one song where they're like, it's like something about Alice, and then the crowd goes, Alice. Who the fuck is Alice? And so now whenever I hear the name Alice, I'm like, who the fuck is Alice?
Alice and Rubies are just screwed around you now.
Who the fuck are these bitches? Nobody knows.
If your name's Ruby Alice, you don't even come to my town.
Oh my God, that's funny.
All right,
okay.
all right, yeah.
Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yep. All right.
Or no, we still got to come up with that one that's like too clever, too lazy.
Dude, that one was so hard to try to just to get the music to sound like not ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe I was overthinking it. But anyway, go ahead.
I think you were overthinking it. It was so
that's
simple.
It's half my life. Well, you do it then, Miss Simple Life. It's hot. Freaking Paris Hilton over here. Go ahead. Tell me the rest of the scam.
Oh, I don't do enough for the podcast. You want me to make
you do plenty. Too? You do plenty. All right. Continue.
It's a joint effort.
It is. Mm.
No, I actually really love the intro. I'm just making jokes.
A blunt effort. Swisher Sweets effort. Anyway, go ahead before we get too off track.
A gravity bong effort.
This is again next, dude. You know what?
Party bowl effort.
Party bowl effort. I haven't done a gravity bong in a while, but I have one like under my kitchen sink that I made like I don't even know, like 6 years.
How did you make it?
So I used a 2 liter and a 1 liter because I used to go big with a 3 liter and a 2 liter, but that was a little much. So I went with the 1 liter, or maybe either way. I one size bigger than the other, right? And I cut the top off, the bigger one, the bottom off, the smaller one, and then for the top, I cut out the top and I used I used tinfoil actually, but I have used before a socket with the screen.
Wow.
Yeah, no, actually, no. I think on this one I did use a socket with the screen, and then I sealed it with like some like rubber cement or something like that. And you put like a screen, like just like a regular bowl screen.
Yeah.
And then then you just fill it with water, and then the bigger one, obviously.
I asked because there was one time it was like around the time I started smoking pot for the first time. Like This was like my joining of the culture. Sure. I dated this guy and we were at my house one night really late playing Lego Batman. We're like unlocking all these levels.
You and your son, dude. You love
Wait, no, well, yeah, it was like unlocking these levels so that he could do the free play. Yeah. And the dude made a gravity bong and he got a garbage can.
Yeah.
Like actually it was like a medium-sized one and he cleaned it really good.
Oh yeah, okay.
And he's like, I'm like, what are you doing? He was like, I'm making a gravity bong. I was like, oh shit, I've never heard of him before that. Obviously, because I just started.
Right, I get it.
And so yeah, he filled it with water and then he got the 2 liter thing, and he put it in there, but he used the water part as just the trash can, And so that's why a couple years later, Max, I like get home from work or some shit or from something, and Max is like, "Look, Mom, I started it all over."
Right.
And, like all the work I did on both the games, the Lego and the Star Wars, were gone.
What?
I was like, "Do you know how many pots I smoked? How many gravity bongs? Like I utter just
how many pots I smoked?"
Yeah.
Damn it. Dude, but like, I mean, I've seen it. I remember.
And I did it all for you. I did it all for you, Damien.
I killed brain cells for you, Damien. But then, like, I remember like the first time. This is this little transition. We'll come back to what we're talking about. But the first time, I remember I smoked up a gravity bong or however gravity bong was like my parents had gone out of town. And like I was like 17, and then they would always go to my uncle's house, who lived like 5 hours away in Albuquerque. And they always go with them, but then
Albuquerque,
yeah. Anyway, but he happened to live like in a cul-de-sac that was like the one cul-de-sac that wasn't Breaking Bad. You know what I mean? Like the rest was like fucked up. But he happened to live like all my memories of Albuquerque were pretty nice. But anyway, this particular time, my parents went, and I was like, "Hey, I can't go with you. I might get a call for a job offer at Taco Bell." And they're like, "You know what, son? We support you, so you could stay home by yourself And I was like, fuck yeah. And then I just had my friends come over. And
How
then
old were you?
17. So I was like, reasonable, And then we didn't, it's one of those things where like my parents would have been like, obviously not what we wanted, but they'd been like, but this is pretty. My son's a dork, you know what I mean? And then so we just like smoked, but the first time was a great bomb was we made it out of the bathtub, which is
okay.
It was stupid. There was no need for that. Like it took us like 30 minutes to fill this bathtub up.
How slow was the water? It took you.
I don't know. It took. I may be exaggerating a bit for comedic effect, but it took like longer than it does to fill up a bucket or a 2 liter.
That's true. That's true.
And then we use it, and then you really don't. You learn because you want to be when you're a kid, you want to be grandiose, and so we use like a 3-liter bottle, which is like that's way too much. When you fill that whole thing up, to fill up the bathtub and then fill up this 3-liter bottle, whatever the fuck it was a big bottle. It was just like too much smoke. You did get super high though. I've never been that kind of high before. Or gravity bongs take you to another level.
I know. I love gravity. In fact, I should make one sometime because that's
what I'm saying. I'm like, you got me excited. I'm like, I made one a while back, and I'm like, I might break it out, dude. But after a while,
no, for real, yeah, it gets
you're
old.
like, all right, I got to go back to just regular smoking weed. It's because you can't just climb Mount Everest every day.
You know what's funny is when I moved to Humboldt. I still, smoked out of my bowl and all this stuff,
sure.
right? And then I met Alan, and he grows, and
right.
Or wait, no, I can't say that on the podcast because
you met and he grows.
He grew produce. He grew produce.
Right, yeah. He grew some nice cassava melons.
His family had a produce farm.
Right, yeah. A lot of plantains, if you know what I'm saying.
I went and pruned the produce when I worked up there.
Produced.
But anyway, it's funny because like being poor, and having to scrape resin. I remember I would go to his house and like there would be a fresh bowl. He literally took a hit out of that morning kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he would just dump it out and get a fresh one. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's like, it's old. I was like, it's weed.
Oh, what the fuck? How dare you?
I know. That's what I said. I was like, you
sick son of a bitch.
Yeah. I was like, you don't know struggle. You fucking privileged.
Or like whenever I see movies like where there's like a lot of like decadent cocaine use, or like for instance like when I saw Blow, and then like he's just like throwing it around, I'm like, that's wow, how, and like making lines with his hand and just like dusting it off with his hands, like, man, you lick that hand,
Yeah, it's crazy.
I get the struggle of like, and then like I do remember like distinctly like my friend and I like being on our carpet, like picking up like.
Remember when we dropped we did that on our carpet too.
Yeah.
And we're like, we need to invent a weed vacuum.
That's the thing. We've done it with several. I've done it with several friends. I have memories of that same event happening with several friends, with trying to pick weed out of carpeting. So to hear someone be like,
I know we had Coco's hair in the
right. And we're like, it'll still work, dude. It
did, yeah. I don't care. I'll smoke it. I'll
smoke the shit out of this weed, dude. Scrape that bowl, and then to hear someone go like, yeah, man, that one hit dirtied the weed. I gotta throw it out.
I know. God, yeah. I was like, how? Yeah, it was so offensive to me. I was like, you have never been poor.
Yeah, like or one that always upsets me. Like we've seen it a couple times where like someone will be eating a burrito, and then they'll just like throw it away mid burrito, and we're like, oh, what the fuck, dude? You were like halfway through that burrito, and you just threw it away in the trash like that. And you didn't wrap it. It was in foil. You could have wrapped it up. Took it home. Sick son of a bitch.
That burrito.
See, yeah, I know, right? Just dig into the trash. It was on top.
My favorite is I was in
the pool. Man, that show's still
that show's so funny, dude. Oh,
still
my God. Good. But anyway, the whole point of bringing all that up, because I remember when I first met Alan, like he only smoked out of bongs or rolled joints,
Right, one of those guys. I
never smoked out of pipes or any of that shit. But honestly, after now, that's how I smoke too. I either smoke out of a bong or a joint, Yeah. But I mean, I'm not above a pipe. Like I have a cool one in my car.
I mean, I'm not. I'll still smoke with the peasants,
Yeah, I'll still hang out with the peasants, totally. Yeah. But like, in fact, I have that one when I'm working. But now, I don't like to be that fucking high. I kind of like just having the pen high. It's not as
violent. That's my go-to. But the thing with the pen is that it's so convenient that like it's one of those things, especially like at work, I'll do it, and it's so easy to like take that one hit too far for me anyway.
Yeah.
I'll go that one extra hit and I'm like, oh, that last one I shouldn't have done.
Oh my God.
And now I want to sit down for a while. You know?
I know. I fucking okay. So I had to work at a different property. When I worked for PSAV, I had to work at a different property. I had to work at the Hotel Del. And I fucking loved working at the Hotel Del because it was one of the busy ones and PSAV, and there's always something to do, you know,
Right.
and the crew there is really cool. Like they're super fun. And so I took my Adderall and then I had to go
Right.
get my sugar-free Red Bull because that was just like my thing.
Your routine. Ooh, Adderall and Red Bull. Ooh, all right.
I know. Well, yeah. I just got to really talk people's ear off as much as possible, you know, not let them get one fucking word in.
Surprised you're not grinding your teeth while you're saying it, you know?
But like I was smoking my pen and I was trying to quit smoking cigarettes. You know,
Right.
I don't know what I was
Right.
thinking. I was taking legal meth and drinking a Red Bull. Like that's totally the right
cigarettes are a little
formula.
unhealthy.
Yeah, the cigarettes are complete. Well, no, I mean like cigarettes. That's easy to quit when you're doing that.
And that's yeah, exactly. That's also the catalyst for smoking more cigarettes.
Exactly.
is
Well, do
fucking
you know what's funny
drinking
is when
Red
I
Bull, yeah.
quit, when I stopped taking Adderall, I literally stopped smoking. Like completely.
They went hand
the
in hand.
only time that I would smoke is when I drank. I could only smoke
That was my trigger.
if I was drunk too.
That was my trigger too.
And so there were times where I would want a cigarette, but I didn't want to be all bombed out tired. So I would want to get drunk just so that I could have a cigarette. Like who does that?
fucking psychos.
But anyway, I was on my way to work one day and I like stopped and got my Red Bull and then I'm smoking my pen and I'm smoking it like a cigarette. And then all of a sudden I'm fucking going over the fucking Coronado Bridge and I'm violently fucking high.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. So I take another Adderall.
Yeah. Ooh, smart.
That's what
Fought fire with fire, dude.
Exactly. Yeah, you know. And so I was very efficient, but I was on Neptune, dude. I was like looking off in the distance, like rapping chords really fast.
Like, damn, Stephanie is firing on all cylinders today, dude.
Well, it was funny because we were in the elevator and this guy said something and I laughed and then I was like, wait, what did you say? And then they were like making fun of me and I'm like, I'm sorry. I was like, I smoked my pen too much and now I'm like violently high, you know, and then we took a break and smoked another joint and then we all were violently high. It was funny.
Do you remember your first time
doing what?
getting high, dude? Jesus. Drinking milk. Dude, so remember how I was telling you that like no, hold on, I'll
Did
get to
you
it.
say drinking milk? Did you call it milk? Like Milk Gibson?
Milk Gibson? Milk. How do you say milk?
Yeah, it's a milk. It's an I. Milk.
You knew what I meant though, motherfucker.
Yeah, but you said milk. You always made fun of me about Pello.
Sure, I probably did. Sounds like something I'd make fun of you for. So it's your first time getting high on marijuana. Go.
Oh my God. Well, that was in high school. No.
Okay, you can still tell me about it, right? There's just, like, the statute of limitations have passed. Dude, so okay, side note. Yeah, you know who God, Ed McMahon. No, not Ed McMahon. Vince McMahon is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The wrestling guy.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said,
The guy who's he's a big guy. He's okay.
Keep describing him, please.
Mansplaining him to me. So anyway, there was this documentary that he had on Netflix, and it was like basically it was years of them doing interviews, and right as they're about to finish these interviews, all these allegations came out and blah blah. But anyway, at one point during the documentary, he actually says this on screen. He goes, they're talking about a rape, and then he goes, if you're accused of rape, that means you're a rapist, but this was consensual, right? And then he says, and by the way, if it was a rape, the statute of limitations had already passed. So,
he's guilty.
That's what he said. That's what he said, dude.
Oh,
even if it was
guilty.
A rape, the statute of limitations had already passed.
Yeah,
so why is she even bringing it up? Oh yeah, after that you're like,
guilty.
You said that with the camera on, and you knew that it was like recording, and they're gonna put this out, and that's what you went with. Like, yeah, for sure.
Criminals are fucking stupid. Like people,
and it's crazy how they tell you.
They tell on themselves
all the time. Yeah, like that one British guy that was you saw that one documentary with that one British guy. I forgot his name. Billy.
Well, no,
something.
it's like O.J. Simpson. Like, I didn't kill my wife.
If I did, though, here's how I would
do it. Yeah.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, your statute of limitations had passed on your high school. My
No,
story's
it's
from
not
high
that.
school too.
I was just trying to remember because it was like
it wasn't
it was
like
when my parents were
big
out of
moment for
town
you?
and they left us home alone.
Ooh, you're a Carol
we-
McAllister with this bitch, huh?
Well, no, it wasn't like that because we were in high school.
You
so,
weren't
like,
that
we were-
rich?
No, shut up. I'm trying to like retrace my steps. You're distracting me.
That's the point. Too clever?
Too clever to fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. But now go ahead.
Because after I graduated high school, because I didn't really like weed, so I never really smoked it. Oh my God. There was a time I was in high school and I was with two of my friends. We all were hanging out and we go and we sit at this lookout overlooking Tooele and we're smoking pot. And like we're all passing the bowl back and forth, but I'm in the middle. So I hit it twice. It's like I hit it, he hits it, and then he passes it, and I hit it,
You're double dipping. I see what you're doing.
I was so fucked up that like my sense of time and reality were skipping.
Right.
It was like I was laughing about how like because we went down the mountain because I had to pee really bad, and so we go and we decided to go to Wendy's because it was in the gas station or whatever. And so we go down, I go to the bathroom, I don't know, I can't explain it. It was just the weirdest feeling. And then I'm sitting there going pee and I'm like laughing about how funny it all is. And then I'm like, wait a minute, am I still in here? Or like, am I in the gymnasium in front of the whole school right now kind of thing? Thinking,
right.
You know what I mean?
Shit. Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, what just happened? And then I have a time hop. And then I'm like, wait, am I here? Okay, I am here. How did I get here? I'm like, oh yeah. Like I had to run through that every 5 seconds.
So that wasn't laced with something?
I just was too, yeah, that's what other people said. But I think now smoking a lot of weed, throughout my life.
How old were you though?
I was 16 or 17.
Okay, yeah. Weed hit different back then. Our brains weren't fully developed yet. They did.
Well, and I
different,
didn't
dude.
smoke weed like that either.
I know. Also too.
It like sent me and it was the craziest thing. Like my brain just like it just tripped, and like I had to go through and then I would be like, okay, why am I here? And I'm like, oh yeah, I went pee. I'm like, did I pee?
Yeah.
Like,
I've been there. Yeah.
And so then I finally
like no short-term memory basically.
Oh yeah. And so then I finally find my friends and I'm like, what are we doing? And then one of the guys ordered food. And so then we're sitting in Wendy's and I remember they were like fucking with me. I mean, not being dicks about it. Like they were, we were all hanging out having fun, but they knew how fucking high I was. So they were just fucking with me, a little bit. And so one of them, he spins this quarter and he slams the salt shaker down on it. And then he pulls the salt shaker and this trail of salt. And I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And then I swear to God, one of them told me to pick it up. And so I lifted it up and the salt goes everywhere.
Right.
And they're laughing. And then I'm like, why? And then my brain starts stripping out again. And I'm like, what just happened?
Why is there salt?
Yeah, it was just this ongoing thing. And like the next day at school, dude, we laughed about that for years, in fact. But yeah, that was like that was the first time like I got fucking so high. And it honestly made me not want to smoke weed.
Really?
Yeah, for
You're
a
like,
while.
I'm good on weed for a while. No, so my first time I didn't even get high. Like my first time I was 14. I was a freshman in high school.
Well, then it's not your first time.
Well, no, let me explain.
Like my first time having sex. I didn't even have sex.
No, well, let me explain. So I was 14, and my buddy and I, we both were on the swim team, and we had practice like at 5:30 in the morning, and so it's ridiculous. But school didn't start till like 8, so we get to school like super early, and I had met some like older kids. So this one like junior, he was on the varsity football team. He also was there super early, so we ran into him. And he was like a super popular kid. And he was like, we're talking. He's like, hey, man, how's freshman year going, guys? Blah, blah. And then some other girl comes up to him and she's like, hey, what's going on, boo? And they start talking. And she's like, hey, do you have a lighter? And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, but hey, do you guys have a lighter? And here's the thing. The summer before freshman year, I had a family reunion and we traveled from Florida to Texas. And on the way back, I stole a carton of cigarettes and I was selling them like single. So like 25 cents a cigarette. That was my little freshman hustle. So I always had a pack of matches. So I was like, I don't have a lighter, but I do got these matches. And they're like, all right, let's go to the park. I got this doobie. And then she pulls out this fucking like the fattest joint I'd ever seen. I mean, still to like this day, it was like I'm probably romancing it, but I remember it being like insanely fat.
Alan rolls insanely fat joints. There's times I'm like, can you just roll me a nice little pinner? And he hands me this fucking.
You're like, come on,
this fucking cucumber.
He throws away fucking, barely spark bowls. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, of course he's like, yeah, this is a tiny joint. What, you can't finish all that stuff? He's like a king. But anyway, like, yeah. So she's like, they're like, yeah, let's go to the park. And she pulls out this, like, in my head, I remember being like music. And I was like, oh shit. I mean, my friend, because neither one of us ever smoked before. And we look at each other, we're like, oh shit, this is really going to happen. So we're like, we go to the park, we walk to the park, we get there, and we're still kind of in disbelief. We're like, nah, maybe not. And then the guy goes like, hey, go ahead and hand me the matches. And then he hands you the matches. Then he goes, oh, my bad. And he goes, I forgot to ask. And he asked her, he goes, is it cool if these two smoke as well? And she goes, I don't care. And then so me and my friend were like, we like mentally high-fived. We're like, fuck, it is actually going to happen. So we like joke. But and then I remember I had another friend who was like, he like started smoking weed too. And he was like a grade older than me. So he was like an older brother figure. So he was like, I took his advice, and he was like, you got to hold it in. I remember him saying that. So I remember I took a big puff and I just like held it in, stuck my chest out. And the other guy was like, dude, you don't got to stick your chest out that far, man. Like he commented on it, he commented on it. Anyway, so we took a couple puffs, whatever. And then we went back, me and my friend went back and we like joined up with all the other friends. And we were like, we're trying to play it off, but we're still trying to be like, yeah, we just did something cool, And I wanted to be like high so bad, but I just, I wasn't. I just wasn't. But in my head, I was like, I was trying to figure out I didn't know what high was, So I was still trying to figure it out. But then I finally told that friend who had started smoking weed, I told him that he lived 2 houses down from me. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I finally smoked weed. He's like, finally. I don't want to be the one to corrupt you, but now that I know that you smoked weed by yourself, I can start smoking weed with you. And like he knew this girl who her family grew weed and she had a crush on him. So she would just give him weed all the time. So I never paid for weed my whole freshman year. And I remember the third time, it took me the third time, me and my friend, we went to the tennis courts and we smoked, a joint. And then I remember walking back to class, like right before class started. And I was walking, the path looked like Mario. Like it was like I had like a path, like a video game, like a set path of where I was supposed to go and how I had to walk in those specific blocks, blocks to get to where I needed to go. And then I remember I was in class and I'd always heard about the munchies and shit like that. I never experienced them. But I remember we had this guy, his name was the Burrito Man. And he was literally some Mexican dude that would bring he would make all kinds of burritos. And it turns out he wasn't supposed to be doing this, but he would sell burritos out of like a cooler and in between classes. And they were amazing, dude. They were like $1.50 for like a steak burrito. And then, so me and my friend we would always like, there's this particular class. We'd be like, yeah, let's leave. We'd try to leave early, find a reason to leave like 5 minutes early so we could get there first. And I remember him going like, man, I can't wait. I want to get a burrito. And I remember going like, dude, I think I want 2 burritos. And I was like, dude, that's the munchies right there. Those are the munchies. I figured I felt them.
I got the munchies.
I did it, guys. I was like high five people. I was like, oh, I think this shit's real. The movies are real. And I was like then after that I was like, but yeah, I remember weed being like so much like more of like this is a thing. This is a journey. And it was also super illegal. Now the fact that I can just go into a store and just like have my pick, I'm like, I don't like that flavor.
Oh my God. That's what was crazy about moving to California. Like I would be driving with people and they would just be driving and with a bowl smoking. And I'm like, ducking down and shit. And like, and it was so funny because when my brothers come to visit for Thanksgiving, like they'll do that. I'm like, this is fucking humble. Will you just smoke it? Like you're being weird.
Yeah. It reminds me of that Roy Scoville bit where he's like the difference between like, California and Alabama, where he's like in California, he's like, yeah,
exactly.
Like, just go behind a car, I guess. But then in Alabama, like, what is that? He's like, it's just a stick. Makes you want to paint.
Well, no, when you said that you never paid for weed, that reminded me because like when I moved to Humboldt, like
you got me beat on that right now. At this point.
I know I never paid for weed, and I remember there's like I can't remember if it was on Facebook or somewhere, but someone was like, yeah, Humboldt girls who don't pay for weed. Yeah, we know how they're really paying for weed. I'm like, what? My buddy, like Hardy works on a grow. And every time I see him, you don't know Humboldt, like people literally give you weed. Like,
right.
Like I invited Max's friends. I invited them over for Thanksgiving and I had no idea, but their dad, he grows weed. And so he brought me this big ass bag of weed. Like if you're like everybody grows weed and everybody just gives it to you. Like you really don't pay for weed unless you go to the dispensary.
Right. Dude, it reminds me of this one story I heard. It was like I almost got away with it. And basically, it was this guy. He worked at a distillery, right? Distillery, that's what they call them. Not a brewery, yeah, distillery where they make like in like Kentucky or Tennessee where they make like all the whiskeys, right?
Yeah.
And he said like we worked there. He's like, yeah, if everyone knows if you work there, you get fucking free alcohol all the time, like Christmas, birthdays. So and anyway, long story short, he said he worked there for like 15 years one day. And one of his buddies who had like moved out of town.
15 years one day.
Yeah, one day he just worked there. It was a long fucking day. He had a time machine, but he got it all in, dude. Got it all in. His friend was like, "What the fuck? How do you do? Are you gonna sell me this?" And he's like, "Nah, buddy." But anyway, like he 15 years one day. What the fuck was I talking about? Okay, his buddy came over. His buddy came over and he said, and they had dinner, right? And his buddy had moved out of town, whatever, right? So anyway. And his buddy was like had gone to college, was like a high, had a good job, and was moved to the big city, right? Well, anyway, he breaks out the scotch, right? There's, the scotch that he has, and it's 20 year aged or whatever. And his buddy's like, "What the fuck? Where'd you get that from?" He's like, "Oh, I just got it, from fucking work, whatever." He's like, "Are you willing to sell it? How many deals do you got?" And he's like, "Oh, I got like 5 or 6." He's like, "Do you want to sell some?" He's like, "Fuck it, here's 2, whatever. Just get out of here." He said the guy sees him every couple of months, maybe every 6 months. This guy came back the next day, dropped an envelope cash on his thing, and was like, "Dude, it was more money than he makes in a month for selling 2 bottles." And he's like, "What? Wow!" And he's like, "What the fuck?" It turns out that this, I guess, back in the 90s, whiskey was considered for hobos and cowboys and shit like that, right? No one drank high class, high fancy whiskey. But then somewhere in the 2000s, Anthony Bourdain said some shit, and then Mad Men with that one guy making those old fashions. All of a sudden, people start going, "Oh, whiskey is a fancy drink." But when they were doing the 20-year age shit, whatever, back in the 90s or at that time, they were predicting that they weren't going to sell that much. So when it became high demand in the 2010s, they were only so much was available. So like these bottles were worth like $2,000, $3,000 and shit like that. And he was like, "They're just getting them for free." That reminds me of your story. Like you're like, yeah, people don't understand. Like it's weed, people just give it to you for free. And over here, like in Texas, that shit's just like, people getting shot over weed.
Well, like and
in Humboldt too, they do get shot for weed, but it's like they have to be robbing you, your farm.
Well, that's if you're fucking with the Russians. Like,
there's a whole documentary called Murder Mountain.
Don't fuck with the criminals. And that I watched that. That was so fucking annoying. Like all these girls are like, they made us trim topless. It's like nobody's making you drive up to that mountain. Like you are not a victim, okay? Yeah. You're just
Lily Phillips and your 100 dicks.
Because they're obviously doing drugs up there, like cocaine, and they've got a lot of alcohol. Like the people stay there because they have access to pills, and all that shit.
They want to be there.
Exactly. And so if you're doing weird shit, that's on you. Nobody's making you show up, Yeah. It was so stupid. Yeah. And not to mention like the people that went missing. It's like, don't talk about, like, you're working for dangerous people. Don't talk about what you're...
we were just talking about this earlier, dude. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, I mean, because seriously, like, I don't know, maybe this is victim blaming territory, but it's just like a lot of stuff that can be like, don't put yourself in risky situations.
Right. Right. Okay. So you know what? That segues to this. I don't want to get too sappy with you, but I love you, right? I care about you deeply as a friend.
I know you're my brother.
All right.
For real. So I'm closer to you than my actual brothers.
No. Okay. So I do have to ask you this because I feel that every female should have one of these, but do you have a go-to fake name? Like a go-to fake name?
No, because I'm just too honest for my own good. I really don't.
So I'll give you a story though. Like, okay, so my dad was in the army, and when I was a kid, he was stationed in Germany, and when I was about 6, he got sent to Saudi Arabia for Desert Storm. So it's just my mom and myself, right? And so when we were checking the laundry or checking the mail, this soldier comes in and starts hollering at my mom. She's like late 30s at this point. And like, it could tell he's making her nervous. He's asking all these questions. And anyway, long story short, she gives him a fake name. And she basically said the reason was because like she doesn't know what he could look up and what he could find, what he could find. Her husband had just left, find out where he lives. But she also, to this day, she could still tell you what that name is. I think it was Sheila, right? Because she was like, if I ever ran to that motherfucker again, I wouldn't have to think about it. I'd just be like, yeah, Sheila. I'd keep it moving. It wouldn't cause any, disruptions because she was like, again, a woman by herself with a small child in Germany by herself. So it was like, in the early 90s, you know what I mean? So it was crazy, so I feel like everyone should have a go-to fake name. So if you don't have a go-to fake name, let's come up with one right now on air.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Because sometimes I didn't have my real name on my tag when I was a waitress, but I always had it say, but I was silly. Like, I have to be funny.
Right.
And so.
No, you can go funny. You can go funny with it.
But my name was always Sugar Pie DeSanto.
Sugar Pie DeSanto.
Yeah, I got it from the show. And so that's always been my name on like my name tags. In fact, my Papa John's, I still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
It says Sugar Pie DeSanto on it.
Dude, I remember my very first job at Sonic. My friend's sister kind of like got me the job. And anyway, long story short, I quit that job. Like, it was long. I don't want to give you the whole story why I quit, but I was just like, fuck it. I was one of those ones where I just like didn't show up. I came to pick up my last check though, and I had my whole uniform, but I was gonna keep the name tag. And then my friend's sister was there handing out the checks, and I gave her my uniform. And then before she gave my check, she was like, "Where's the name tag?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I don't have it, blah blah." And she's like, "All right, that's either going to be $2 or I want that name tag back before I can give you your check."
$2.
$2. I wasn't about to drive all the way back to my house, so I'd like go to the car and ask my dad, like, "Hey, can I borrow $2 cash so I can get paid for my check?" And I like me and her, like, it was like me and her, like, I hate her for like ever since then. We were never friends again. You son of over $2.
I know, that's crazy.
I know. Well, she could have been like, "Fuck it, who cares? $2, like, fuck it, whatever." But yeah, no one was asking about that name.
She was all bummed out that you were.
It was definitely 100% pettiness. That's what made me so upset. Yeah, she was basically like, like, "I vouched for you, and you didn't show up after they basically fired you anyway," and whatever. So,
you motherfucker, go throw your fan away now.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't even know. She didn't even know what the future brought with fans.
You don't even know.
Yeah. So Sugar Pie DeSanto is your go-to.
Maybe I should come up with a fake. I do have a fake kind of story. Yeah, it was like shortly after I started at AI, and I remember I went out with my buddy Rob, and we were at the Hard Rock Hotel, and I like just broke up with my boyfriend. It was like a rough breakup, and I was like, did not want any guy to even look at me. I was like, I just want to drink, and I need you to babysit me. It was so funny because we were standing outside smoking, and I was like, if anybody tries to come and talk to me, I'm just going to tell them I'm a lesbian. Right. And this chick behind me turns around and goes, "Oh, really?" And I'm looking at him, I'm like, "We got to go."
Yeah, you're like, "God damn it, backfired." Oh, really?
Oh, what'd you say? It was funny. Jesus. Well, it was funny because I looked at him and I did say that. I was like, "We got to go." And then we all started laughing. And then I talked to her and she was like, and she was actually really funny.
I'm sure she was actually pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, she was super cool. It was hilarious.
I was thinking as a guy, the only fake name story that I can think of is I remember when I was like a teenager, a couple of my buddies got stopped. And it's like searched by the cops, and then so they asked for their IDs, and one of my friends didn't have his ID, so they asked for his name, and he for some reason gave them my friend's brother's name. For some reason, he was there, and then I guess my other friend was like, "What the fuck?" So he gave him my friend's brother's name. They ran that name. It turns out my friend's brother had a warrant, so then they were like, so then they went to arrest him, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm just kidding. That's not my name." We're like, "Well, okay, now you're getting arrested for giving a fake." Yeah, that's not my name. And you're like, "Well, actually, we were going to arrest you, but since you did the dance, fine. Get out of here. Get out of here, you scoundrel.
Get out of here, Stacy."
Yeah, Stacy. But no, so he could have just gave them. They were just like being dick cops, and just like, searching kids for whatever. But all the rest of them got let go, and then he got arrested because he gave a fake name. He could have just gave him his real name. He didn't have any warrants.
Oh man, that sucks. My brother got popped in a underage drinking scheme. Or like buying alcohol for minors scheme, like this one. He went into it was a fucking setup. And
it was some 22-year-old cop that looked 15 or something.
No, maybe, or it was somebody they used as bait kind of thing, and they
to see that if he would do it.
Yeah.
dicks, dude. It feels like
and he was in
entrapment,
it sucked because he was in a hurry and he was like, this chick was
Fine.
talking to, and he's like, yeah, whatever. And yeah,
Try to be
and he
nice.
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it sucked because my brother, he's not, I don't know, he's not an idiot. He's not
Right.
like
It sucks. It sucks too because I remember being that age and trying to get guys. You know, being the 16-year-olds at the gas
trying to
station,
get
like,
guys, you
right?
faggot.
And then trying to get guys, being like, hey, come back, see these cheeks. But then like,
I gotta, after you're done telling the story, we gotta tell our listeners why I always call you gay all the time.
But anyway, so like, what was this? Oh yeah, no, I remember being the 16-year-old kid being like outside trying to convince some dude to like, hey, like trying to figure out which guy would do it. But then also remember being like the 25-year-old with some 16-year-old kid coming to me and be like, I don't trust it, dude. I don't know. I want to be cool and buy, because I remember being that age and wanting, but I don't trust it. Like, you could be a fucking undercover. And side note, I remember, this is a quick story. When I was 18, or my senior year of high school, almost every one of my friends got arrested for some reason, because my senior year, they did a huge sting operation at like all the school districts, or all the schools in our district, and where they had like undercovers posing as like students, faculty, and teachers. And like, for instance, one of my friends, there's a new student. He was a new student, right? They thought, and he asked my friend, hey, do you know where to get some weed? And he was like, yeah, you see that guy over there? That's my friend. Ask him. And he got charged with conspiracy to sell drugs. And then my other friend, of course, got, and then so everyone there was, and then like security guards got busted for like fucking like stealing computers, and it was all this wild shit, dude.
Damn.
But yeah, they did this huge sting operation at my school with a bunch of undercovers. So now, I don't trust any. I'm like, all you fuckers are you young looking 25, you Elijah Wood motherfucker. I don't trust you.
All right, yeah.
Too clever, too late, too late.
Too late. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. When do you want to do weekly? Because I think we should just do weekly.
Pretty soon here. What year is this? Or what years? What week is this?
I know, but it feels like it. This has been a year.
Yeah, dude. I was watching. I was watching. You know who Patton Oswalt is?
Yeah.
I was watching one of his stand-ups recently. He was like, so yeah, it's the year 20. He's like, it's the year 2022, and he's like, that doesn't even sound like a real year. It sounds like one of those years like if you're reading a sci-fi novel and the guy's like, in the year 2022, like it doesn't sound real. You know what I mean? But it is. It's the year 2025.
I can't believe we're 25 years into the 2000. Like I remember when it turned 2000, and it was like, wow, yeah.
And that's why it's so nostalgic. And when I see stuff from the 2000s, and I'm like, that 2000. Was so. I think about that all the time. And I remember like it bled into like 2001, and they're like, we have to change this at some point because it was they're still saying it in the year 2000.
So I know,
it was so good, dude. It was that was my shit, dude. And then okay, so side note too, what you're saying, like, it's so weird. I work with a guy who he's a smart kid. He's a history buff. He's a World War II buff, a Vietnam buff. He told me about this series on YouTube where they cover every day of World War II. They have an episode for every day, and they dropped it day by day. It took like 6 years to do it. He's seen the whole thing. Each episode's like 15 minutes. This guy would talk your ear off about World War I or World War II. Here's the thing, though. He was born in 2000. So if I make a 90s reference or a 2000s reference, he looks at me like I'm talking Hebrew, dude. He has no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, but he'll talk to your ear off about World War II. So that's so wild to me. Like
wild.
The 90s and 2000s, because just that's like someone saying some shit about, hey, remember Johnny Carson? Like to us, like, I remember Johnny Carson. No.
Oh my God, my brother used to get up in the middle of the night my older brother, he used to get up in the middle of the night when he was like 3.
Yeah.
And he would turn the TV. It was like this family joke. He would like turn the TV on, get chips and a Coke, and just sit and watch TV. And
chips and a Coke.
Yeah. And one night we were talking. I can't remember how we connected these dots, but he would sleepwalk and do this stuff. My brother used to sleepwalk. And he told me, because like somehow we figured out that he was watching Johnny Carson. Yeah. And he was like, that's the name of my imaginary friend. And he's like, so when I grew up and like I started to learn who Johnny Carson really was, I was like, hey, that's my imaginary friend. Like and then he realized he was just like, and so
he was just like, watching Johnny Carson.
Yeah, it was because he was watching Johnny Carson when he was
on Coke and fucking chips at 3.
Yeah, at the age of 3.
Yeah,
not on Coke. He was drinking. I know, but
Coke. It sounds so much better when I say it like that, though.
But yeah, he's like, woo!
Man, I don't even know how I'm able to eat these chips. No appetite. Yeah, but it's just more for the chewing.
But
yeah.
I know that shit's funny. Every time I hear Johnny Carson, I think about that.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But I mean, it's the same thing. It's like what you talk, because yeah, it's crazy. I'm in the workforce with people who are like born, you know, in the year 2000, which, you know, they're 25 now. They're like
I know, it's crazy.
They're voting and renting cars and shit. Fuck.
Well, and it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy how fast the time went since we were even
so
in college.
Quick.
You know, like that was a fucking decade ago. Like
it's over
a decade ago.
It's wild, dude. Wild.
And like, if you think about it, 25 years ago, right? Year 2000. But like when it was 2000, if you think about 25 years ago, it was in the 70s, and that felt like so long ago.
Yeah. Because we hadn't even that. We weren't
even
the 90s
around
were
for that. 30 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
And when we were going through the 90s, it's like, this is the coolest fucking decade, and you're not even appreciating it.
How can it get better? And I remember when we got to the 2000s, my friend was like, "What are we even gonna say now?" Because remember, like in the 90s,
what we're gonna call the
mom?
teens.
Relax, it's the 90s, bro. It's the 90s. It's the aughts, by the way. They call it the aughts. I don't know if I, you know.
No, it's now it's just the 2000s, which I like that better. Yeah. But yeah, what do you call that middle decade? The teens?
The tens. I've heard it's called something that I liked, but I forgot what it was. But someone called it something, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good." But I forgot what it was though. Yeah. Every decade had a lot of fun. I mean, but it did ruin the music industry, like for us anyway.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first started going, like they were like, "Yeah, you could work we'll give you an internship at studios." Like 2009. Like you could work at all these different studios and blah blah. And by 2012, like all those studios were gone because everyone could download music for free on their phone. You know,
it's crazy.
Rant over.
It's not a rant.
It's short rant over.
Short story.
Sentence
done.
over.
With a thesis finished. That was interesting.
Yeah, this podcast is not just funny. Sometimes it's informative.
It's informative, yes, very informative.
Yeah. Well, sometimes on Sunday. No, that's not it. Some days on Sunday. Sundays at some time. We'll figure it out.
No, it's Sundays at some point.
All right, Sundays at some point. There you go.
I'm keeping all of that in. Mm-hmm. Sunday, sometime on Sunday.
I was getting the S's. The S's were there.
And then you're like, we'll work it out. I'm like,
Sunday.
this is Sunday.
Sundays.